That's okay, come on.
We'll do the question again.
Yes.
He's lying.
Do you ever think of the artists you haven't seen in a long time? What triggered their departure from the music scene? Let's talk about 20 famous musicians you will never see again. 20. Grace Slick. Rewind to the groovy 60s, where Grace Slick was the powerhouse voice of Jefferson Airplane, rocking the psychedelic rock scene. You know, the era of tie-dye, flower power, and mind-bending tunes. Grace was right there in the thick of it, leading the charge. With their 1967 album, Surrealistic Pillow, Jefferson Airplane soared through the musical universe. It was more than a hit. It was a launch to fame, making them one of the first Bay Area bands to dominate the world scene. They were like the trailblazers of the cool Bay Area sound that everyone was talking about. In a surprising turn of events, Grace Slick left the stage soon after the hit album Surrealistic Pillow. Why? It wasn't because of the typical band conflicts or artistic disputes. Grace, being the honest person she is, revealed the truth. It was her age that made her quit rock and roll. She quit singing not because of any crazy rock and roll antics, but because she thought it was time to let the younger ones have a chance. Grace Slick, the stellar star of Jefferson Airplane, chose to hand over the rock flame to the next generation. But don't think for a second that she traded the limelight for a rocking chair. Grace swapped the stage for a paintbrush. She's an artist now, channeling her creative vibes onto canvas instead of rocking out on stage. It's like she found a different kind of groove, one where colors and strokes replace chords and lyrics. That's the story of Grace Slick, the legend who surfed the psychedelic tide, who retired not because the music died, but because she wished to give the next wave of rockers a chance. And who can blame her? It's all part of the cosmic rhythm of the 60s. 19. Captain Beefheart. Don Van Vliet, better known as Captain Beefheart in the 1960s, defied the music industry's rules by shredding and burning them, then performing a short dance on the ashes. The 60s is the golden era of wild experimentation in music. Captain Beefheart was the avant-garde pioneer, the mad genius who threw traditional rock out the window. His masterpiece, the double LP Trout Mask Replica, was like a sound explosion that left people scratching their heads and nodding in awe. It wasn't just an album, it was a trip, a mind-bending journey into uncharted musical territory. But by the end of the 60s, after turning the music world upside down, Captain Beefheart decided to drop the mic and left the music scene. He left us with Trout Mask Replica, a masterpiece that still echoes in the halls of avant-garde greatness. Captain Beefheart was no typical retiree. He vanished into the Mojave Desert of all places. Just see yourself going from the chaos of the music world to the serene, dusty landscapes of the desert. But that's not the end of the story. While most folks dream of beach retirements, Captain Beefheart became a desert artist. He traded the microphone for a paintbrush, creating visual art that matched the eccentricity of his music. In the Mojave, surrounded by cacti and dust storms, he found his new canvas. And there he stayed until the end, painting and creating, far away from the music scene that he once turned upside down. 18. Bill Withers. Bill Withers is the soulful singer who gave us timeless hits like Lean on Me and Ain't No Sunshine. This guy was the real deal, weaving magic with his voice and guitar. What is unfortunate, though, is when he decided to pack up his musical bags and call it quits. Bill Withers grew tired of the whole touring circus and dealing with record company drama and decided to take a bow in the mid-80s. The man decided it was time to trade the stage for a quieter life, away from the bright lights and industry headaches. Most musicians throw around the retirement idea like confetti at a parade, but not Bill. He actually went through with it. No more stage lights, no more late night gigs. He left it all behind. It's like he hit the pause button on a career that was just hitting its peak. And nothing seemed to lure him back into the limelight. No amount of applause or tempting record deals could convince him to pick up the microphone again. It's like he found peace away from the craziness of the music world, and no one could sway him. Sure, it's a bit of a downer for us fans who wanted more of his soul-stirring tunes, but you've got to respect a guy who knows when to say, I'm done. Bill Withers, the man who made us feel every note, decided to take a bow on his terms. His songs might be our forever companions, but the man himself found his serenity away from the music hustle. 17. John Deacon. John Deacon is the bass-wielding wizard who walked into the Queen scene a bit fashionably late. In 1971, Freddie Mercury's already doing his thing for a year, and in walks John ready to add some serious bass groove to the mix. Though you may not have recognized him right away, you have heard about his magic. Another One Bites the Dust and other hits? The bass line by Deacon is what's making you tap your feet. He emerged as Queen's unsung hero, providing the funky groundwork that inspired us all to get up and dance. As time rolled on, John Deacon went from the new guy to the guy. Queen wouldn't be Queen without him. His bass lines were the secret sauce in songs like Under Pressure and I Want to Break Free. The dude became integral, the heartbeat of Queen's rhythm section. The surprising part, though, is that John Deacon gave up bass playing in the early 1990s, just after the tragic exit of Freddie Mercury. The man responsible for shaping Queen's sound decided that a different kind of encore was in order. It's like he felt the void left by Freddie, and without missing a beat, he decided to step back. No more studio sessions, no more rocking the stadiums. He found his own rhythm away from the Queen limelight. While Brian May and Roger Taylor kept the Queen spirit alive, John Deacon chose a quieter path. 16. Terminator X. Let's look into the story of Terminator X. Not the sci-fi killer machine, but the hip-hop master from Public Enemy. The late 80s saw the birth of hardcore rap, and there's Terminator X, scratching and mixing beats that would become the backbone of Public Enemy's iconic sound. Jump to 2003. Terminator X decided to call it a day. He retired from the hip-hop game. It wasn't some dramatic exit with fireworks and spotlights. He did something unexpected. The man who once rocked the turntables found himself surrounded by ostriches. You heard that right, an ostrich farm. So why the switch from beats to birds? Well, according to Terminator X himself, it all boiled down to the ugly side of the music industry. In a nutshell, he got fed up with the greed and the endless chase for money. What would it be like being part of a groundbreaking group like Public Enemy and then realizing the industry's more interested in the green bills than the art itself? In a 2012 interview with Crazy Hood, Terminator X revealed it all. He explained how the music industry's hunger for cash and the shady dealings pushed him to hit the brakes on his hip-hop journey. It's like he said, enough is enough, and decided to leave the chaos behind. And what does he do? Opens an ostrich farm. Out of all the things, right? It's like he traded the beats for the clucks. But hey, sometimes you gotta escape the madness and find your own rhythm, even if it's in the company of big flightless birds. 15. Adam Clayton. Next up is Adam Clayton, the bass powerhouse of U2. After 14 albums and a whopping 40 years rocking out together, U2 steps onto their home turf for a show in 2018. Seems like a regular gig, but not exactly. It had this air of finality, like Adam might be saying, okay, it's been real, but I'm done. Adam has been with U2 since they started in 1976. Back then, U2 was all about that post-punk vibe. Think raw, edgy sounds that hit you in the gut. It was a far cry from the polished, mass-appeal tunes that defined the later decades. Adam, with his bass magic, was right there in the thick of it, laying down the foundation for the U2 sound. But 2018 had this vibe, a hint that maybe Adam Clayton was ready to hang up his bass for good. After 40 years of musical adventures, it's like he looked around and thought that perhaps it was time for something different. This wasn't some dramatic announcement or a farewell tour, though. It was a feeling in the air, a subtle shift that made fans wonder if this show might be the end of an era. After all, 14 albums in 4 decades. That's a rock and roll marathon. U2, with Adam Clayton in tow, had journeyed from the gritty post-punk alleys to the grand stadiums of the world. And that 2018 show felt like the final stage, a moment to reflect on the incredible ride. So, did Adam really call it quits? Well, the jury's still out on that one. Maybe it was just a moment of reflection, a pause in the U2 story. Whatever it was, Adam Clayton's bass lines will forever echo in the hearts of U2 fans, whether he decides to rock on or take a well-deserved breather. 14. Cindy Birdsong. Take a trip down the musical memory lane and let's talk about Cindy Birdsong, the lady who went from harmonizing in Patti LaBelle and the Bluebells to hitting the big leagues with the Supremes. Back in the day before the Supremes fame, Cindy was already making waves with Patti LaBelle and the Bluebells, but it was in 1967 that she stepped into the limelight big time, joining the Supremes. Now that's like going from playing local gigs to the big leagues overnight. The Supremes trio with Cindy in the mix skyrocketed to stardom. Hits like Stop in the Name of Love and Baby Love, you couldn't escape those tunes even if you tried. But fame didn't stop Cindy from doing something unexpected. She left the Supremes not once, but twice in the 70s. Talk about throwing a curveball. So why did she leave? Well, it turns out Cindy had a dream beyond the dazzling lights of the stage. Her heart was set on becoming a nurse. Here she was, part of one of the biggest musical acts of all time, and she's got her sights on a nursing career. In the 70s, after saying her goodbyes to the Supremes, Cindy traded the glamorous gowns for scrubs and pursued her dream. It's like she hit pause on the fame and fortune to follow a calling that was all about caring for others. Think about going from the spotlight to the quiet halls of a hospital. That's Cindy Birdsong's journey, from harmonizing to healing. And she did it. She became a nurse, living out her dream beyond the music notes and stage lights. 13. Jeffrey Allen Skunk Baxter. You might know Jeffrey Allen Skunk Baxter as the guitar wizard who sprinkled his magic on Steely Dan and rocked with the Doobie Brothers for a solid 5 years. Here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. After strumming strings for the likes of Dolly Parton and Rod Stewart, Jeffrey Baxter made a major decision in the 80s. He traded in his guitar for missiles. This guy went from rocking out on stage to advising the bigwigs at the Department of Defense. The same person who made Steely Dan shine was now in the business of defense consulting. It's like going from power chords to power plays. While most rock stars were busy with the encore performances, Baxter found himself dealing with the world of military strategy and missile defense systems. You might be wondering how a guitar virtuoso becomes a defense consultant. Baxter had a knack for technology, and his love for gadgets extended beyond the guitar pedals. He became an expert in missile defense systems, bringing a whole new meaning to the term rock and roll. It's the kind of career switch that makes you do a double take. But you know what? Jeffrey Baxter rocked it, not just on stage, but in the defense arena. It's proof that life can take you on some unexpected journeys. And sometimes the guy strumming the guitar might end up strumming through defense blueprints. 12. Jim Martin. Let's dive into the wild ride that was Jim Martin's departure from Faith No More. Suppose that following the release of Angel Dust, Faith No More is experiencing immense success and everyone is going crazy. And then Jim Martin decides to call it quits. After the dust settled from Angel Dust, Jim Martin, the dude with the killer guitar skills, decided to drop the guitar. It was nothing like a typical rock and roll drama. There were no wild antics nor crazy scandals. According to Jim, he just wasn't in tune with where the band was heading musically. It's like when you're in a car and everyone's picking songs, but suddenly you realize you're on a completely different radio station. That kind of vibe. Then, 15 years later, Jim finally spills the beans in a fan Q&A on some UK blog. 15 years of radio silence, and he spills the tea and says that he's moved on from Faith No More's musical direction. Sometimes you outgrow the playlist, and that's what happened to Jim. After years of rocking out on stages, he decided to make a surprising change. He traded in his guitar for something a bit unexpected: farming. From shredding solos to getting hands dirty with cultivating crops. 11. Dave Roundtree. Dave Roundtree, the man who's not just your typical drummer. He's the one who gave us the beats behind Blur's Song 2 and Park Life. Now, after rocking out on the Glastonbury main stage and having his tunes blasted into space on a spaceship bound for Mars, Dave decided to take a detour from the music highway. In 2009, he traded in drumsticks for a briefcase. He switched from being a drummer to a lawyer. Maybe he was tired of the constant drumming and wanted to bang the gavel for a change. But there's more to the story. He made yet another career turnabout in 2010 when he started working as a Labour Party campaigner. That's a change not many saw coming. Maybe when you've been pounding the drums, getting into the political beat seems like the next logical step. Dave admits later that his past decisions were basically a midlife crisis. Dave becomes a lawyer and enters politics while others get a fast automobile. Just ordinary stuff. Today, Dave Roundtree is now working as a composer. From drumming to lawyering to politics and now composing. It's like his career path is a roller coaster you never want to get off. Well, Dave deserves praise for keeping things interesting. The man is really full of surprises. 10. Dan Spitz. Dan Spitz is the legendary guitarist from Anthrax. From 1983 to 1995, this dude shredded his way through thrash metal history with Anthrax, selling more albums than you can count and snagging 3 Grammy nominations, which is no small feat. You would think a life of thrash metal glory would be enough for anyone, but not for Dan Spitz. In the 90s, when most of us were busy trying to figure out our dial-up internet, he decided to make a massive turnaround in his career. He decided to hang up his guitar and pursue a career in watchmaking. Yes, watches, those things that tell time. Life's full of surprises, and this one takes the cake. Consider a man who once melted faces with his guitar solos is now meticulously crafting watches that cost a whopping $128,000. It's like he went from headbanging to high-end wristwear. Maybe he got tired of the fast-paced world of thrash metal and decided to take it slow, one tick-tock at a time. I mean, watches and mosh pits are pretty much at opposite ends of the cool spectrum. 9. Kate Bush. Moving on to the queen of art rock, Kate Bush. She wowed us with her ethereal voice and unique style from her debut in '78 with The Kick Inside all the way up to 2011's 50 Words for Snow. But after a few decades in the biz, she decided to take a step back. Rumor has it she's enjoying the quiet life. Kate's not exactly known for hitting the road. In fact, she's basically the unicorn of the music world when it comes to tours. She only did 1 tour. That's like spotting Bigfoot in the music industry, but it's quality over quantity. After years of mysterious silence, Kate decides to break the quiet spell in 2014. She graces London with a series of shows where she sings her heart out, treating fans to a journey through her musical timeline. It's like she emerged from the enchanted forest for a brief moment, and we were all lucky enough to witness the magic. In 2022, Kate Bush made another appearance. Her 1985 song Running Up That Hill, A Deal with God, suddenly becomes the talk of the town after making an appearance in the 4th season of Stranger Things. Although Kate isn't one to steal the show, she couldn't resist thanking everyone in 2022. Who wouldn't, after all? The world fell in love with her song all over again as it became one of the year's biggest hits. 8. Robert Fripp. Let's talk about Robert Fripp, the mastermind behind the 70s prog rock behemoth King Crimson. This guy is like the Gandalf of powerful guitar, and you definitely want him on your musical quest. Back in '74, Robert does the unexpected. He hits pause on King Crimson, the band that was turning heads and breaking musical barriers. It was a bold move, but Fripp isn't one to just vanish into the shadows. After the Crimson hiatus, Fripp became the cool kid in the musical sandbox, playing alongside heavyweights like Brian Eno and David Bowie. I mean, who wouldn't want a guitar wizard like Frip on their team? The 70s were like a musical roller coaster, and Frip had a front row seat. After some time has passed, Frip decides he's not done with King Crimson just yet. He resurrects the band, and they're back in action, blowing minds with their intricate soundscapes and mind-bending compositions. Legends never really retire, they just take a coffee break. But here's the story. In recent times, Frip's been teaming up with Toya Wilcox, and together, they're not just making music, they're rocking out with some entertaining covers. It's like Frip decided to mix things up a bit and have some fun. 7. Willa Ford. Now, rewind the clock to the early 2000s, the era of pop princesses like Britney Spears, and right there in the mix was Willa Ford. Her hit, I Wanna Be Bad, was like the anthem of every teen's playlist in May 2001, shooting up the charts like nobody's business. But you know how the music scene goes. Sometimes you hit the top, and sometimes, well, the follow-up singles don't quite hit the same notes. Unfortunately for Willa, her subsequent songs didn't soar as high as her debut banger. The music industry's a roller coaster, and not everyone gets a permanent seat. She makes the decision to throw away the microphone in favor of a blueprint and jump right into the interior design industry. It appears that she has a talent for transforming areas into artistic creations. In 2012, she kicked off her own venture, W. Ford Interiors. Swapping the stage for a design studio, she became the go-to expert for color palettes and furniture arrangements. Transforming her creative flair from melodies to meticulous design, it's like she found a new rhythm in the world of interior aesthetics. Life's a wild ride, and Willa's carved out her own unique path. Transitioning from belting out tunes to curating aesthetically pleasing spaces, she's shown that reinvention is the real game changer. Her journey is like a melody that evolves, with each note harmonizing a new chapter of creativity and expression. 6. Jeff Magnum. Jeff Magnum, the mysterious figure behind Neutral Milk Hotel. After making waves in the indie scene, he kinda disappeared. Rumor has it he's living a low-key life away from the music industry chaos. In the Airplane Over the Sea drops in 1988, and it was like a comet hitting the indie scene. It's one of the greatest albums of the 1990s, and critics are praising it, and fans are amazed. The story then gets more complicated at this point. After giving us this masterpiece, Jeff Magnum decides to pull a Houdini. Poof! He disappears from the music scene and public life faster than you can say aeroplane. The guy releases only 2 albums with Neutral Milk Hotel, and then it's like he unplugs from the entire scene. There was a one-off show in 2011 that had fans losing their minds, but that's about it. Since then, it's been Magnum in hiding mode. No new albums, no major tours. It's like he found the ultimate hideout for indie music legends. Now the rumors are buzzing. Some say he's living a chill, low-key life away from the craziness of the music industry. Maybe he found solace in a cabin in the woods, strumming his guitar under the moonlight. But you've got to hand it to the guy. In an era where artists are dropping singles like it's hot, Jeff Magnum decided to keep it mysterious. Sometimes a bit of mystery is the best encore. 5. Stevie Nicks. Stevie Nicks might have retired from touring, but her enchanting voice will continue to transport us to the mystical world of Fleetwood Mac. She may have hung up her touring boots, but her magic is still alive and well. Stevie, the queen of bohemian rock vibes, decides to take a break from the crazy life on the road. No more packing suitcases, no more endless tour buses. She's chilling out, and honestly, she deserves it. The amazing thing is that Stevie's voice has the ability to travel through time, even though she is no longer touring. Close your eyes, turn on some Fleetwood Mac hits, and presto, you are immediately thrust into this otherworldly world they have created. Stevie's voice guides us through the dreamy landscapes of their compositions, making it feel like a musical voyage. The stage lights might be dimmed for Stevie's touring days, but her songs are forever on replay. Those iconic tunes like Rhiannon and Landslide are not going anywhere. Her voice has this magical quality that wraps around you like a cozy blanket, taking you on a trip down memory lane. It's like Stevie Nicks pressed pause on the hectic touring life, but her music plays forever. Stevie's mystical vibes are here to stay, keeping us company on those dreamy Fleetwood Mac journeys. 4. Neil Peart. Now let's talk about the drumming wizard himself, Neil Peart, the powerhouse behind the drum kit for the iconic prog rock band Rush. Seriously, if there was a Mount Rushmore for drummers, his face would be etched in stone. Neil didn't just bang the drums, he created a symphony with every beat, giving Rush that distinctive and pummeling edge that made them legends. But it wasn't just about the drums for Neil. He was the writer behind many of Rush's deep and philosophical lyrics. Back in 2015, Rush took a bow, playing their last show together. Little did the fans know, behind the scenes, Neil Peart was battling immense pain. It wasn't until the band's documentary, Time Stands Still, that the heartbreaking truth was revealed. Neil Peart had to retire, stepping away from the drum throne due to the pain he was enduring. It's a curtain call that no one saw coming. And then, sadly, Neil Peart died in a turn of events that struck every Rush fan like a drumstick to the heart. The sounds that had rocked venues throughout the globe had died. However, as they say, legends never truly go away from us. Every drum solo, every line, and every Rush song that has become our life's soundtrack bears witness to Neil's legacy. 3. Bill Berry. Remember that time in 1995 when REM fans felt a punch in the gut? That was the year their drummer, Bill Berry, collapsed on stage in Switzerland, dealing with a brain aneurysm. It was like a rock and roll nightmare. 2 tough years later, Bill made the call. He was hanging up his drumming boots and bidding farewell to REM. The quartet turned into a trio. What did Bill do next? He did something that might surprise you. He became a farmer. The guy who used to pound the drums was now tending to crops in his home state of Georgia. Bill Berry, once rocking out on stage, now swapping his drumsticks for a shovel and overalls. Maybe he got tired of the bright lights and constant touring. Maybe the quiet fields and fresh air called out to him. Whatever it was, he went from drumming to planting. Something about that is kind of cool, as if to say, hey, I've had my share of crazy concerts, now I'm gonna grow some tomatoes. It serves as a reminder that even celebrities have times when they long for a more straightforward existence. So these days, instead of hitting the snare drum, Bill Berry's busy tending to his own kind of rhythm, the rhythm of the land. He traded the stage for a tractor, the roar of the crowd for the rustle of leaves. It's a different kind of encore, and we can't blame the guy for wanting a change of beat. 2. Linda Ronstadt. Next up, we've got the amazing Linda Ronstadt, the queen of rock and folk, whose career spanned a whopping 40 years. Hers is a journey filled with a dozen platinum records and a cool collection of 10 Grammy Awards. That is quite a resume. But in 2009, something unexpected happened. Linda Ronstadt took the stage for her final show, and the music, the singing, it all came to a close. After 4 decades of entertaining us, she decided it was time to hang up the microphone. The reason Linda Ronstadt stepped away from the spotlight was revealed in a documentary titled Linda Ronstadt, The Sound of My Voice, that was released in 2019. When Linda opened up to the camera in a heart-to-heart, she revealed she had Parkinson's disease. Her strongest voice was disappearing due to the one thing that gave her such strength. It's a real punch to the gut. Here's this legendary singer, a force in the music scene, and she has to say goodbye to the thing she loves most because of a cruel twist of fate. Parkinson stole Linda Ronstadt's ability to sing, to hit those high notes that we all fell in love with. It's like taking a superhero's powers away. The woman who graced us with hits like You're No Good and Blue Bayou faced a challenge that even her remarkable voice couldn't conquer. But hey, her story doesn't end there. Linda Ronstadt's music, her legacy, that's still alive and kicking. Even if she's not belting out tunes on stage, her songs will forever be the soundtrack to moments in our lives. 1. Phil Collins. Taking the top spot is the man, the myth, the drumming legend, Phil Collins. You know him, the guy who made us all feel the goosebumps with In the Air Tonight. In 2009, life dealt him a cruel blow. The legendary Genesis drummer Phil had a minor run-in with his neck in 2009. The master drummer found himself in major health trouble when the vertebrae in his upper neck began to act out. Pretend that you are the guy who provided us with those amazing drum fills, and now your neck is giving you trouble. It's an odd way of life. Fast forward to 2022, and Phil had been on a 14-year break from live performances. He decided to make a comeback. And not just any comeback. He joined Genesis for their last hurrah. Now that's like a rock and roll reunion we didn't know we needed. So there he was, Phil Collins, sitting front and center on stage despite the visible signs of wear and tear. You could see he wasn't the same energetic dude from In the Air Tonight music video, but he was still there, doing his thing. It's like watching your favorite superhero come out of retirement for one last mission. And what does Phil do? He cracks a joke, saying he'll need to find a real job after Genesis calls it quits. The guy who's been a musical powerhouse for decades, cracking jokes about getting a regular gig. It's like he's saying, all right, rock and roll, it's been real, but maybe it's time for a desk job. So there you have it. Phil Collins, the drumming legend, facing health battles, making a triumphant return, and throwing in a bit of humor about his post-rock star plans. It's a reminder that even the biggest names in music are just regular folks facing the twists and turns of life. And there you have it. 20 musical legends who've taken a bow from the stage. Which musician do you miss the most? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching.